Okay, so today we'll do second part of survey research, and this part will focus on more on what is effective survey. Why we are taking sample?
Part represent a whole.
Yeah, it's representing the whole population. So your survey is going to be effective if you have a representative sample. So that is the meaning of representative sample. So all the characteristics of the population, okay, should come in this sample. All information you need and the questionnaire designing stage. So the first stage, there should be clarity. Clarity, goal, and objective should be clearly defined. What do you want to do? What kind of findings you want to get through your survey? So first is your clarity. That is during questionnaire designing. Okay. Second is completability. It should be easy to understand. While administrating questionnaire, the respondent should be able to understand what do you mean to ask. Then third one is processability. So clean data. You need clean data for further processing. So it should not have any missing values, or the data should be clean. We'll come on that. What kind of errors can come, and why, how you can clean that data. Okay, then is analyzability. Once the data is clean, then you start analyzing that data. So it must be properly analyzed. So what kind of techniques you are using, all these things comes under analyzability. And then there is timeliness. What do you understand by timeliness? Time gap between planning and implementation should be short for effective decision making. Why it should be short? Why do you think that this is important? Timeliness. Kaise? Can you give me any example for this?
Ma'am, to do a survey in a proper time frame.
Yes, proper time frame. पर अगर नहीं करेंगे proper time frame में,
मैम फिर जो टारगेट होगा वो हमारा कंप्लीट नहीं हो पाएगा, जो हमने जस्ट टारगेट।
ओके, टारगेट कंप्लीट नहीं हो पाएगा, ठीक है, हमने फिर भी सर्वे कर लिया.
Validity will expire. Validity of survey will expire.
Validity will expire. But regarding decision making, let's say I have to take a decision as a company कि मेरा एक campaign run हो रहा है. I need to check what are the problems in my current campaign. Okay, and
we won't get full results.
Yes.
Full and effective.
Yes, you will not get effective results, or if you have to if a company has already decided that they have to go with the second round of campaign, and they have to take this input all the findings from this first phase of research in the second phase, so unke sare jo steps hain that will get delayed. So decision making itni quick nahi ho sakti hai, yeah, validity and all these problems can come. So timeliness is also very important. Okay, so before you launch your survey, think about how you can minimize potential sample bias. Okay, जब आप representative sample कहते हो, or what you say about picking up the sample. So you need to minimize potential sample bias. That is first thing, and achieve as representative as sample as possible. Okay. How can you ensure कि representative sample हो? How can you ensure that a sample is representative? For example, population में 60-40 के रेशियो में मेल फीमेल है, या फिर एज का वेरिएशन, एज के ब्रैकेट्स 0 to 20, 20 to 30, whatever the bracket is, there's some percentage, or males and females in a population is say 60-40. But how are you going to ensure this in your sample? वो कैसे करें? How can you make your sample representative? First is survey से पहले. We'll talk about survey के बाद how can we do that. But if you have to ensure that you get a representative sample, what can you do?
target only the required people.
Yes, you keep a quota. Keep a quota. That's called quota. That you say that okay, if we have to cover 100 people, okay, we target for 60-40. We have to cover. We keep a quota. We keep a cap that you have to cover 60 males and 40 females, or you can maybe keep it 50-50, and or you can, there are various ways of doing that. Or you say okay, I just need this minimum 40 and minimum 40, and let the rest be free fall kind of thing. That 40-40 पे हम cap कर देते हैं, उसके बाद जो भी आएगा that is like free, will distribute it freely, whatever it comes is okay. But we are keeping a cap of 40%, or we are keeping a cap of 50-50, or we are going with 60 and 40. That will decide survey se pehle. That comes in your sampling plan when you are giving briefing to your interviewers that you have to cover these many females, these many males. So that is called quota. Okay, अब क्या होता है अगर तुम्हारा quota achieve nahi hota hai, and then you see that after you get the data, it is not a representative sample. You said that okay, in population it is 60-40, but when you collected data, maybe the respondent, you didn't get the respondent, and you got something around like 30-30. So what can you do now? Can you do anything now? You have to make your survey representative, but the problem is that now you have already collected the data. You already have this data. Now, can you make it representative? Can you make it 60-40?
No,
Yes.
ma'am.
No,
Okay, so there's something called weights. You can apply weights and make it representative sample. Okay, this is one way you can do this. You can apply weights and make it representative. So 30 ko you divide it, and there's one way of doing that. And what is the population, what are the numbers of males in a population, number of females in a population, you use that and divide it, and you get some weight, and then you multiply it with your data, and this is how you can make your sample representative. Okay. So quota is something that is done before survey, and weight is something that you do after the survey. Okay. So coming to errors in survey research. So there are two types of error that can happen. One is due to sampling. So the respondents that you selected, the way you sampled, there is error in that. And there is second way that the error can come, that is your non-sampling error. It is basically because the way the questionnaire is asked. It can be because of non-response. It can be because of respondent biasness. It can be because of interviewers biasness. So there are two different errors. One is sampling and another one is non-sampling. Okay, let me ask you this question. Can you tell an example of survey where there can't be a sampling error? A survey where there can't be a sampling error.
Where we are taking the whole population as a sample.
Okay, where? ठीक है, काफी pass, but exactly what? That is the right answer, but exactly what kind of survey? कौन सा सर्वे होता है जिसमें
population of a country?
census.
Exactly, census.
Yes.
किसने बोला ये census?
Ritik.
Ritik.
Wow.
Very good, Ritik.
Thank you, Asa.
And yeah, Kshitij also. Good. So census is that because you are taking whole population, तो sampling कर ही नहीं रहे हो आप, तो sampling error होगा ही नहीं. Okay. So let's come to other sampling errors. We discuss about random sampling error. जो आपने sampling में कोई issue आता है, that is random sampling error. But all other errors which are because of interviewer bias, which are because of research design में problem है, or it is because of respondent problem, respondent bias, or non-response, all others errors come under systematic error or non-sampling error. So systematic error is respondent error and administration error. We'll come on that. So random sampling error is a statistical fluctuation that occurs because of change variation in the elements selected for the sample. For example, in your section F, let's say I take average of all the students, and and that comes out to be 80. Total class का average है 80. Because your class, the number of students are so less, so I can take average of entire class of the population. But this is not possible always. So that's why what we do is we take a sample, and it's not possible to take average of, say, all the students studying in MBA classes. It's not possible. So what if I have to, I decide कि तुम्हारी class में से I'll take a sample of 5 students. I take a sample of 5 students, and then I'll project it for, on entire class. So section F का total average 80 है, ये मुझे पता है, but generally ये information मुझे पता नहीं होती. Okay, because this is something which is of entire population. So what I'm doing is I take a sample of 5 students and I calculate the class average. कि जो भी class average होगा, say I get 95 as class average, and I'm saying कि ये 95 ही हम project कर देंगे पूरी class पे. But here I know that the class average is not 95 but 80. So do you think that there is some error here? ये क्यों हुआ? 80 क्यों नहीं आया मेरा आंसर? मेरा 95 क्यों आया? I selected 5 students from your class and I checked the average. तो मेरा जो average आया that is 95. But I know that class का average तो 80 है. So what do you think? ये 85 क्यों आया? इतना बढ़ के क्यों आया average?
Ma'am, because it included the people with the top marks. You included more.
Yes.
Ma'am,
More
there
of
should
those
be any
people.
error.
There should be, yes, Radhika?
There should be any error.
So the error is this only, that what I did is that happened by chance. Although I was, selecting randomly, still, I selected only those people who got very high marks. All those people, who got above 85, above 90, I selected, randomly. That is a chance variation that happened. So that is called random sampling error. Okay, next is systematic error. That is sampling, non-sampling error. So it can be because of respondent error. It can be because of administration, how you are asking these questions. It can be through different ways. So systematic error results from some imperfect aspect of the research design or from a mistake in the execution of the research. Sample bias exists when the results of a sample show a persistent tendency to deviate in one direction from the true value of the population parameter. You can skip this, just systematic error. Let's check what is systematic error and then respondent error first. So a classification of sample bias resulting from some respondent action or inaction. So respondent से कैसे error आ सकता है? Either it can be non-response error या फिर response bias. Non-response error क्या होता है? What is non-response error?
No show.
No show. Yeah. So respondent is not responding, and that's why there can be error. So a person who is not contacted or who refuses to cooperate in the research, it can be because of that. Non-response error is that includes only those who responded, and a perfect survey that would also include those who failed to respond. So basically, मुझे survey करना था 100 लोगों का, and I had some criteria, but some of the respondents didn't respond, and that's why I got biased results. So this is a non-response error. So it can be because of refusal, they said no. Self-selection bias, a bias that occurs because people who feel strongly about a subject are more likely to respond to survey questions than people who feel indifferent about it. For example, कभी-कभी होता है that you ask some questions and that respondent is actually going through that phase and they are like very much connected with that topic, or it's a very touchy topic for them. So what they do is that they strongly feel about the topic and they try to answer in extremes. Say a woman has to always adjust as per the societal norms. If this is a statement, a person, a female is already going through that phase, then she will always say, okay, 5, 7, she'll always, because it is something which is biased and she feels strongly about it, she'll always answer in extremes. So that is a non-response. Or underrepresent indifference. Underrepresent that age or income, you underrepresent that. So that is a non-response error. Okay, there is response bias, a bias that occurs when respondent tends to answer question with a certain slant that consciously or unconsciously misrepresent the truth. So there can be deliberate falsification. So are you aware of this brand? They can deliberately say, yes, we are aware of this brand. Or how many times do you visit, say, a mall or any place? And then they can, deliberately say that 4 to 5 times instead of, they don't visit it, and still they can deliberately give you false answer. Or do you color your hair? And that can be, that is also, and they say no, though they color their hair. So that kind of responses can come. That is response bias, when the respondent is giving false answers, and that is happening deliberately. So like I said, acquiescence bias is something, when they are giving extreme answers. So extremity bias. So on a scale of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if I ask you how satisfied you are, so these respondents, what they are doing is they are saying 5 on everything, 5, 5, 5, or 1, 1, 1 on all the questions. So that is extremity bias. Extremity bias results because response styles vary from person to person. Some individuals tend to use extremes when responding to questions. तो अगर तुम्हारे डेटा में इफ यू सी दैट बहुत ज्यादा 4.55 इतना ज्यादा हाई रेटिंग है, देन यू चेक कि ऐसा तो नहीं है कि कुछ रेस्पोंडेंट्स आर गिविंग सेम आंसर्स, सेम हायर एक्सट्रीम्स पे 4, 5, they are giving 4, 5, these extreme answers, and you can check for that, and you can then clean your data. You can remove those respondents. This is one way, to check whether the data is correct or not. Okay, type of response bias. Interviewer bias occurs because the presence of the interviewer influences answers. So sometimes interviewer influences answers, or it can be because of social desirability. So like I asked, I mentioned one question that do you color your hair? So respondents do not want to answer it in yes, and then they'll say, okay, we don't. So that is a kind of social desirability bias that can come. Okay. Then there is something that all these were respondent bias, the biases that can come from respondent. Then there is administrative error. So data processing error, when you are, entering the data. This happens majorly in pen and paper interviews. But a pen and papers interview itna hota nahi hai. It's always, already, all companies are using CAPI or online interviews. So data processing error can come, that is incorrect data entry. So the respondent said A option, but the interviewer selected B option by mistake. So that kind of error can come. Sample selection error can come, interviewer error, field mistakes can come, then interviewer is cheating, that is filling up fake answers, because it can happen the respondent is not agreeing, respondent is not answering, and then interviewer can fill the false responses. So all these errors can come. Then classifying survey research methods. Surveys can be classified based on the method of communication. कितना structured questionnaire है on that, and disguise and time frame. Let's see what does that mean. So structured and disguised question. So a structured question imposes a limit on the number of allowable responses. We all know what is a structured questionnaire is. So if I ask what is the reason of not buying this product, and then you say, okay, quality is one, price is one. Okay, this is a structured questionnaire. Okay, you can also put certain unstructured questionnaire that is called open-end. This question is a closed-ended. Okay, this is a closed-ended question, or you can call it a structured question. But if I ask the same question, open-end का क्या मतलब होता है? What is open-end? Reason for not buying, say X product, and you just give a blank. Okay, that is called open-end question. So this is called unstructured question. So questionnaires are, classified as structured and unstructured, or generally what we do is that in a structured questionnaire only, we keep certain questions as open-end. So it can be a mix. So a structured question imposes a limit on the number of allowable responses. An unstructured question does not restrict the respondent's answer. So whatever answer respondent has to give, he can give here. So there is no restriction posed here in open-ended. An undisguised question is a straightforward and assumes a respondent is willing to answer. So it's a straightforward question. So what all brands do you know? And you ask all the questions. Or what is the reason? Then you read the question. But there can be a disguised question. So it can be, the purpose of this study can be hidden from the respondent. So you ask some general questions. Okay, age is just a number. For example, age is just a number. And how much do you agree or disagree from this statement? So it's kind of a disguised question. You want to understand the personality of that person, but you ask certain questions which is in third person. ठीक है, आप directly नहीं पूछते हो, because you don't get the right responses. So you disguise these questions, certain questions you disguise, and you are not asking directly from the respondent. So those are called disguised questions. You ask in third person, or you ask general statement, how much do you agree and disagree, all these questions you ask. So that's a disguised question. Okay, cross-sectional and longitudinal study, we already know this thing. So tracking a study using successive samples to compare trends and identify changes is a type of longitudinal study. So brand health track it's a very very popular study that is done in market research. So what is the current awareness of the product? Brand health track, what do you understand by brand health track? क्या पूछ रहे हैं इसमें brand health track study? If I say I'm conducting a brand health track study,
current status of the brand in the market.
Yes, current status of the brand in the market. So, many companies conduct this brand health study. What is the current status? What is awareness of my product? What is, whether they are, top of mind recall क्या है? Spontaneous recall क्या है? और कौन से brand? सबसे पहले, if I, top of mind recall is like asking a question, what brand comes to your mind when I say about sports shoes? Okay, what brand comes to your mind?
Nike.
Nike, that is a top of mind recall. What are the other brands? Spontaneous, when you are asking other brands. So top of mind Nike ho gaya. What are the other brands that come in your mind?
Zara.
For shoes, Zara. Okay.
Adidas, New Balance.
Adidas. Asics,
Campus,
Mochi.
Happy Bus.
Hush Puppies.
Okay. So,
Bata.
right. So whatever. So this is a spontaneous. And इसे हम aided question भी कहते हैं. So, sorry, it is unaided. This is unaided. So what all brands are coming? So I'm not asking you, कि Zara आपको पता है क्या, or do you know Hush Puppies? These are the, answers that you are giving me. So this is unaided recall. Then they ask, okay, this is a list. Okay, I have a list of say 20 brands, and you have already answered this. Even me asking कि Zara के बारे में पता है या Hush Puppies के बारे में पता है, say 15 brands, and then say, okay, do you know anything? Are you aware of this brand Skechers? Okay, so
Yes, ma'am.
This is aided recall. So you ask about awareness. So I was talking about brand health track. So what does brand health track studies look for? Is that what is the current status of brand? What is the awareness level? What are brands? They is most often used brand. Which brand they have ever purchased? Which brand is their preferred brand? All these kinds of things. You ask in this brand health track. So that is a tracking study. They these things keeps happening every year, or every 6 months companies can do this tracking. Even certain companies do it weekly. So major telecom brands, they do it, these brand health tracks weekly. So they come every week, they test a campaign, and they check what is the awareness, what is the likability. So basically tracking a study is something which is very continuous, which is longitudinal. Okay, so temporal classification is consumer panel. What is consumer panel? I discussed about this consumer panel yesterday. What is consumer panel?
Ma'am, same individuals, same persons who are in the survey for a long period of time.
Yes. So what you do is that you take them in your panel, and they have already agreed that okay, they'll be part of all the whatever studies that you are conducting, they'll be part of that. And so you are using same individuals, so it's more of longitudinal studies that you are conducting. They're part of that longitudinal studies. Okay, quickly on errors in survey research. So random sampling error, chance variation. Like I gave you the example of, कौन सा example दिया था मैंने random sampling error का? Mean, class mean.
Class
Yes, ma'am.
mean. Marks.
Yeah, because that is the chance variation occur. I selected randomly, but the students that I selected already had higher, marks, and that's why I saw that, variation क्या था कि 80 mean था, population का होना चाहिए, but I got 95. So that was a sampling error. Then systematic sampling or systematic error or non-sampling error is all sources except random sampling or imperfect research design. So non-response error, response bias, हमने ये check किया, respondent do not give consent, refuse to participate. या response bias कि participate कर रहे हैं but they are giving false information, deliberate falsification. Yeah, unconscious misrepresentation. Say if I ask, how many times have you bought this product? And this is something that they are not aware of. This is something that they can't recall properly, and they say, okay, I buy this 3 times, or I visit this place 4 times a week, whatever, or I say order online food 4 times a week. This is something that is a recall based question. So what respondent is giving you false information, but it's a unconscious misrepresentation. It's not deliberate. So type of response bias can be acquiescence bias. You are agreeing to all or most questions. Sab pe ha 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 ha. You do that. That is acquiescence bias. Extremity, 1 or 10. You are answering in extremes. तो mean देखते हो in restrictive statistics, and then you see, okay, this respondent has answered 1 in all the questions. So that you will get to see कि okay, ये extremity bias है, या फिर सब पे 10 10 10 और 5 5 5 extremes में answer किया हुआ है, that is extremity bias. These are the errors that happens when respondent is in hurry and he is just putting 5 5 5 in all the questions. Interviewer bias, shorten or rephrase question. Sometimes interviewer creates a bias. They are in hurry, they shorten the question, so the real intention, the real meaning, they distort that. So that is interviewer bias. Social desirability bias, like I said, do you color your hair? So that's a social desirability bias. And then there are administrative error. What are administrative errors? I mentioned something about data processing. Yeah, data entry. I mentioned something about data entry.
Ma'am, the errors committed by the team who are organizing the survey, who are conducting the survey.
Yes, so instead of, they said respondent mentioned that answer to this question is 2, but interviewer selected third option by mistake. So that is data processing error, that is incorrect data entry. Sample selection error, survey in daytime in shopping centers or household cover only housewives. So that is sample selection error. Interviewer error, check wrong responses, or interviewer is cheating, and that is filling forms themselves. So that was all about errors. Let's check what is some tools we use for data analysis and data preparation. What is it? And SPSS, just a glance, just briefly I'll discuss what is SPSS and what kind of data preparation you need to do. So data preparation includes editing, it includes coding, data entry, and then handling the missing values. So once the data begins to flow, a researcher's attention turns to data analysis. So data preparation includes your editing, coding, and data entry. It is an activity that ensures the accuracy of the data and their conversion from raw form to reduced and classified forms that are more appropriate for analysis. So certain, analysis, you can't run those commands if you have that missing values. Or, you need to check, if you have missing values, how to put correct numbers in that. So that is called data preparation. You edit that. Preparing a descriptive, what do you understand by descriptive statistical summary? So as soon as you get the data, to give a quick check on the data, how good the data is, how your responses, the responses of the respondents are coming, you do something called descriptive statistical summary. क्या होता है ये descriptive statistics? And during this step, that data entry errors may be revealed and corrected. And generally what we do is that once we finish 10% of data entry, the survey, we ask for the data and then we run the descriptive statistics. Okay, but first thing, what is descriptive statistics? Inferential statistics, descriptive statistics, क्या होता है? ये तो पढ़ा था डिस्क्रिप्टिव स्टैटिस्टिक्स, फर्स्ट सेम में भी पढ़ा होगा डिस्क्रिप्टिव स्टैटिस्टिक्स क्या होता है. What is this difference between descriptive and inferential statistics?
Descriptive statistics define as a summary of a whole data.
Okay. Summary of data. Okay.
Like quantitative data.
Still missing the important point here. So descriptive means you are describing the data. Okay, mean, median, mode, percentage, standard deviation, ये सब चीजें, all this is descriptive statistics. whatever data you have, you are describing that data. ठीक है, तो ये परसेंटेज, मीन, मीडियन, मोड, ये जो सब लेते हो, that is descriptive statistics. And what is inferential? What is inferential? Inferential, so just try to remember it from this. Descriptive means describe, and inferential means you are taking inference. Yes, Kshitij. Inference. So what you are doing is that from the sample, you are projecting it to population. That is called inferential. So all, probability, basically regression, if you are checking from the sample and you are estimating all, estimates that you are making about that population. So that is not the real data that you have. You are taking inference from the sample and then projecting it to population. So that is the difference between descriptive and inferential statistics. Okay, so coming back to the topic, that data preparation, what we do is that this is the first step. As soon as I get the data, I'll run the descriptive statistics. कि mean क्या है, इसका percentage क्या है, whether whatever the quotas I ask वो cover हुआ या नहीं, is it something कि यहाँ पर कहीं outlier आ रहा है. You check all these mean, median, mode, all the descriptive summary. You do it in SPSS. So the customary first step in analysis is to edit the raw data. Editing detects errors and omissions, corrects them when possible, and certifies that maximum data quality standards are achieved. So even when you have, you have completed just 10% of your sample, and then you can run descriptive statistics. You can see whether there are too many outliers. Is it because, the respondent is not able to understand that question? Maybe there is one interviewer who is doing all these problems that, all the answers are on extremes. Okay, is it a problem of interviewer? You can quickly run a cross tab and check that. Okay. Interviewer wise jo mean, you can calculate that and you can see whether it's a problem by interviewer or it is something that has come coming in all interviewers or on majority of respondents. Then it's a problem of the questionnaire, so you can check that. Data preparation and editing, this is the first step, customary first step in analysis to edit the raw data. Editing detect errors and omissions, correct them when possible, and certifies that maximum data quality standards are achieved. So data preparation editing is why it is done, to see whether it's accurate, uniformly centered, complete, arranged to simplify coding and tabulation. We'll come to coding. What is coding? Okay, so for example, this is one example of data editing. In the following question asked of adults age 18 or older, one respondent checked two categories, indicating that he was a retired officer bhi hai, and currently serving on active duty. Is it possible? कि तुम्हारे पास ये वाला डेटा आता है जिसमें इन्होंने दोनों इस रेस्पोंडेंट ने दोनों पे टिक किया है. He has ticked on active duty also and he has ticked on retired. Is it correct?
No,
So it's
No,
not correct. या तो retired होगा और या active duty पे होगा. So you can check this kind of errors and then you can make a call back. You can check these respondents and ask your interviewers to check with these respondents. So what is the correct answer? So इस type के errors you need to edit. So the editor's responsibility is to decide which of the responses is both consistent with the intent of the question or other information in the survey and most accurate for this individual participant. So sometimes you don't go for callback. You already know what the answer is, what the correct answer is. But if you are not aware what the correct answer is, then you ask for callback and edit these responses. Two types of editing are field editing and central editing. So editing can happen at field. So what you do is that there is a supervisor under which these interviewer works. So as a researcher, you ask the supervisor that, you know, whatever the problems are, these questions, just check these questions, and these problems can come. So at field only they do the editing. So उससे पहले कि data तुम्हारे पास आए, they do the editing in questionnaire itself. So that is called field editing. In large projects, field editing review is the responsibility of the field supervisor. When entry gaps are present from interviews, a callback should be made rather than guessing what the respondent probably would have said. Self-interviewing has no place in quality research. Validating field research is a control function of the supervisor. So supervisor has to do this. He can do, call back and check what is the correct answer. That is called field editing, when you are asking supervisor to edit the respondents at the field only. Second is central editing. So your data comes to your analysis team, and then you ask for the data and you say, okay, these are the issues in this, and then you have to correct it. So data तुम्हारे पास आ जाता है, but to your analysis team, you say that these are the issues in this data. It's called central editing. So you ask for data from all the centers, and then you are doing the correction. For a small study, the use of a single editor produces maximum consistency. In large studies, editing tasks should be allocated so that each editor deals with one entire section. Let's see what are the replies. When replies are inappropriate or missing, the editor can sometimes detect the proper answer by reviewing the other information in the data set. So like I said, no, kabhi-kabhi aapko pata hota hai what are the issues in the data set. So you can do that editing yourself, and it's not required that you always call the respondent. So there are certain information which can tell you in that questionnaire ki is question ka kya answer hona chahiye tha. It may be better to contact the respondent for correct information if time and budget allows. Definitely that is, the best way. Another alternative is for the editor to strike out the answer if it is inappropriate. So you can remove those answers. Another problem that editing can detect is faking an interview that never took place. This is also something that you can check. One approach is to check responses to open-ended questions. These are most difficult to fake. Distinctive response patterns in other questions will often emerge. Yeah, so sometimes what happens is that you have inserted one open-end question. Open-end question क्या होता है? Open-end question क्या होता है?
Give any response.
Yeah, respondent can give any response. You are putting a blank. So respondent can give the responses, and it is unstructured. So what are the reasons for not buying? Like I showed you, what are the reasons for not buying? And you are just giving a blank. So respondents can answer anything. So what we do is that sometimes when you are not able to understand what should be the correct answer, or there is some missing value, so some questions have these open ends. So these questions can also help to understand what should be the right answer. And then you can do the editing. So editing for completeness, editing question answered out of order, and facilitate the coding process. So you do editing for all these things. What is coding? Edit ho gaya data. What is coding? What do you understand by coding?
A language.
Not exactly the language. So you provide codes to your data.
Defining a data set in a certain form so that it's easy to understand and read.
It's easy to understand and read, but basically more of, so that you can do your analysis on that. You can run a statistical whatever
Further
program.
analysis can be made easy. Coding.
For example, अगर तुम्हारे data में something like 1 or 2 लिखा हुआ है, okay, or your data has something like male and female, that's it. तो अगर इसका mean निकालना हो या percentage निकालना हो, that becomes quite difficult. You need numbers, you need numeric forms, because your system will be able to generate that descriptive summary or whatever statistical analysis you want to do on numerical data. So what we do is that हम इस data को code करते हैं. We do it like we assign numbers. Male equals to 1, female equals to 2. We code this data. So this is the second step. Once you have edited your data, then you do the coding. Coding involves assigning numbers or other symbols to answers so that responses can be grouped into a limited number of categories. So summary karne ke liye, to calculate the descriptive summary, to check your summary, to summarize the findings, the numbers, you need to code the data. Encoding categories are partition of data set, for example, gender. Categorization is the process of using rules to participate. Both closed and free response questions must be coded. Okay, so this is something that was like, this was a part of, say, I asked this question. What is your gender? I ask this question and I give this male, code 1, so male and female, basically. Okay, that is a closed-ended question. But if I ask one open-ended question, okay, what are the reasons for not buying? So sub respondents alag reasons bolte hain, okay, they do that. But you prepare for a code list for these open-ended also responses. Okay, so it's not that you have to do coding for just closed-ended. For these open-ended responses also, we do coding. Okay, we assign some codes to that. So the coding is done for both closed and free response questions. Free response means open-ended. Data preparation, coding, categorization, but is necessary for efficient. Most software work more efficiently in the numeric code, like I mentioned. So instead of entering the word male or female in response to a question, you say 0 or 1, or say 1 or 2. क्या है ये gender is which variable, which scale? कौन सा scale है gender?
Nominal.
Nominal.
So you can convert into dummy variable. I'll talk about the dummy variable later. So data preparation then is, the third step is missing data. You have already edited the data. You have already done the back checks. You have already asked your interviewers to, correct that. Then you are, after editing the data, then you have already coded that. And then you are preparing the data. And that is, you are checking for missing values. And there are different ways of, filling that missing values. In survey studies, missing data typically occurs when participants accidentally skip, refuse to answer, or do not know the answers to an item or the questionnaire. In longitudinal studies, missing data may result from the participant dropping out of the study, because you are conducting longitudinal study that over a longer period of time. So it may happen that some respondents drop out. So you get missing data in that case. Missing data also occurs due to researcher error, corrupted data files, and changes in the research or instrument design. So say in 2020, I asked these many questions, but in 2021, I changed the questionnaire. So the missing values can happen because of that. Then I'm comparing 2021 data with 2020. क्योंकि 2020 में तो मैंने वो क्वेश्चन पूछे ही नहीं थे. So missing error data can come because of this. So there are various ways of correcting this missing data. Either you fill by checking other scores, you put average, or you put you go for likewise deletion. All these things you can do. These are the various ways of handling these missing values. Okay, so after that is a statistical packages. What is statistical packages we are going to use? We use statistical packages for estimation, for prediction, for forecasting, all these things. Yes, you can. So for example, I have already discussed this, that for nominal data, you make contingency tables. For ordinal, you can do contingency tables, you can make bar chart, and all those things you can do. This is how you visually represent this data. You are doing this analysis, this cross tabs you are going to make in SPSS, but then you don't show that tables in your report. You make bar charts from that data. From that data table. Okay, let me show you one. Mm, okay, so this is the SPSS, and there are various other statistical software. There's SAS, Minitab, Stata, R, Excel. You are already aware of this. So SPSS is the software that we'll be using, and it's a statistical package for the social science. So this is how you have done the coding. So how you ask this question, how is your satisfaction with the customer service of the staff at Bata? And you give excellent, good, bad, very bad. And there's some missing value. What you do is you code the answer like this. 1 equals to excellent, 2 is good, 3 is bad, 4 is very bad. And you give one, number to missing values also. So अगर कहीं पर 5 है, then you understand, okay, the percentage of 5 is 20. Then you say, okay, this means missing value. So this is this is a way of coding. Let me show you quickly. Okay, so this is SPSS. Here, this screenshot has 16, but the latest version is, I think, 26. So you open the SPSS and then you get this sheet. So when you click on data view, you will get this kind of sheet. Whereas when you click on variable view, so this is data view. When you click on data view, you'll get this kind of sheet. And when you click on variable view, you'll get this kind of sheet. So the default window will have the data editor, and there are two sheets in the window, that is data view and variable view. So you this is the data view. So the data will look like this. Okay, 1, 2, 3, whatever coding you have done, it will look like this. And there are certain codes that you can run. You can check the graphs and all. This is just a way to see your data. And this is variable view. A variable is like, say, if you have to enter one variable name gender. Here I have entered. So you name that variable gender, then type, whether it's numeric, you check that. What is a width? All these things you fill here. Okay. You create this label. This is how it is done. So there's going to be one exercise. I'm not giving this exercise right now. This is just to give you, hang of things, like how this SPSS looks. And this is your exercise that you have to do after midterm, not now. So you have to put this data in SPSS, and you have to sort the data and create a variable, how you transform the data, how you create a different variable. We'll do all these things. But this is just to give you an idea. Yes, so that was all.